Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Hi, Susan. We are back with Susan Grothe, excited, our owner and artist of Lasting Impression, joining us again here to talk more about the amazing work she does, how she's helping you with medical tattoos. She does offer cosmetic tattoos as well, but we're talking about scar camouflage, fixing the areola after breast reconstruction. If you've suffered with any type of cancer and scar tissue, she does so much to help everyone. And it's a pleasure having her back here on the show. How are you today, darling?
Good, very good. It's a little chilly here in Minneapolis, but I'm doing good.
Yes, and snowy and
Oh,
cold as well in New
right.
York too. But pleasure to have you back. It's always great speaking with you, and I enjoy our conversations. And for those new timers out there, would you mind just telling us a little bit about who you are and what Lasting Impression does offer?
Yeah, absolutely. I have been involved with cosmetic tattoos since 2018. That's when I decided to make this kind of career change. I wanted to do something that would really help people and make them feel more confident. And so I got into cosmetic tattoo right as COVID was kind of hitting everything and shutting all the businesses down. It shut down my very first studio. And I took that time as an opportunity to learn medical tattoo. And that's really what opened this door for me, which has been a path I've been on since 2019. I really feel so compelled to do medical tattoo because of how much it helps the people I'm working with. And my first areola client in 2019 just kind of opened this door to this very purpose driven work that I do, and I'm just really passionate about it. I do all of the cosmetic tattoo services, eyes, eyebrows, lip liner, eyeliner, and then I do primarily scar camouflage and 3D areola restoration.
Thank you for sharing this. And really, I love knowing that you're here to help so many people. And, for example, we're going to get into a little bit deeper discussion today. Maybe we'll talk about the difference to start, if you don't mind, between nipple reconstruction, which I've heard about, and I think that's offered by a surgeon in regards to, their work. But then you do the 3D areola tattoo restoration. Could you tell us a little bit about this? And I would love to hear, more information. I also want to let you know that I'm opening up the phone lines in just a few minutes. 631-307-4010, 631-307-4010 if you have any questions along the way. So let's go. Tell us the difference between the reconstruction and the restoration.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you go to your oncologist, they are going to oftentimes connect you with a plastic surgeon. The plastic surgeon's then going to often reconstruct the breast, and there's multiple ways that that's done. But one of the things they will offer is nipple reconstruction. And nipple reconstruction done surgically is an invasive procedure. You're usually doing it under local in their office, but you're going to have probably 6, 7, 8 weeks of recovery time. And this is after you've had the primary reconstruction done of the breast. So that's usually months of surgery. So that the nipple reconstruction usually happens at the very end. What some plastic surgeons have on staff is a nurse who they've trained to do the actual tattoo. And that involves usually one, maybe two, but it's usually one color kind of flat disc around where they've done the nipple reconstruction, and the nipple reconstruction has to be healed. So that's probably, you're looking at maybe 8, 9 weeks after that process where they could even consider doing it. So it is invasive. It doesn't really capture a lot of detail because it's really one dimensional. So if I contrast that against what I do, I'm really taking multiple colors. I'm looking at a palette of colors that I custom blend to match your skin. So I'm going to look for a low light. I'm going to discover a highlight. I'm going to create multiple nipple colors, and I'm going to blend those to create as realistic an image of an areola that protrudes on your body, so it kind of works with your coloring. In addition to that, with the highlights, the lowlights, I'm going to create the details of wrinkles, the shadows to create the protrusion. I'm going to add elements that are, the Montgomery glands, which are, common in most women, the wrinkles that you'll find that just look normal on an areola. Those are things that really can't be accomplished by a nipple reconstruction. So the process that I do is typically 2 appointments. I'll have you come in. That first appointment is about 3.5, 4 hours long. We do the majority of the work. I send you home with aftercare and a Tegaderm bandage. You really avoid water and, swimming, hot tub, sauna, kind of hot, moist conditions for about, I'm going to say 14 days. And then you're going to heal the rest of the way just with normal care. So it's really much less invasive. The healing time is significantly shorter, and you get this hyper realism with the tattoo that you just can't achieve with an actual nipple reconstruction. And oftentimes, what I see, because I have a lot of women who've come to me after they've had this done, after they've had a nipple reconstruction done, the nipple will tend to recede, and sometimes it goes flat. I've even seen it concave a little bit. So the nipple reconstruction doesn't stay protruding all the time, and oftentimes they're not even, so they're not the same size, they're not in the same position. With the medical tattoo and 3D areola restoration, you can make it as symmetrical as possible and really positioning it in the body so it looks to be in an optimal spot and the ideal size, and also color based on your own skin tone. So it's very, very customized.
And how long of a process, just curious, does this take? And it's multiple sessions or normally, when do you have to come back? Yeah.
It is. So I have you come in for that first session, really trying to determine the goal. Sometimes that will vary based on the actual, base that we've got to work with for each client. Sometimes it's just to recolor the areola. Sometimes it's really to, recreate it entirely. So we'll decide on the goal. That first appointment, I'm going to do about 80% of the work. I'll have you come back about, I'm going to say 6 to 8 weeks later, and I'm going to do a second session. That's usually a couple of hours. So the first session's maybe 3 hours, the second session's maybe 2. So I'm going to put about 5 hours of work into creating this hyper realistic nipple. And that's really what my clients say is the most amazing. They've gone back to usually going back to their oncologist for follow-up appointments. And I had one client who's an oncologist said, "Oh my gosh, that's a tattoo." Just not, thinking that you could get that high degree of realism. But that's really what, all of the training and all of the, the work I've done to perfect and, learn and master this technique has been enabled me to do.
Well, I love it. It's beautiful, and I've seen your work before, and I hope people do reach out for this. And just curious, the medical reconstruction part, is any of this covered by insurance yet, or insurance companies still not in the mix with this? Which is
It's
unfortunate if
funny.
they're not. I mean,
Right. It's funny. I just had that conversation today with someone, and I'm
oh,
trying to find out more within the state of Minnesota. So medical coverage varies greatly by state. In some cases, in some states, it may be covered. So
okay,
areola tattoo would be covered, as would a wig, as would prosthetics. In some states, none
yeah.
of that is covered. I've had people come to me and say, my insurance doesn't cover a wig, it doesn't cover a prosthetic, it doesn't cover a tattoo. Those are things that you have to seek outside of your medical system. And, depending on what state you're living in, the coverage is probably going to vary. But I can tell you that because, the medical tattoo that I do is probably going to be about a quarter, maybe even a fifth of the cost to have a nipple reconstruction done. Nipple reconstruction, yes, typically covered by insurance.
Got it.
But most people I advise have to look at their own insurance and discover, okay, within their policy, is this something that there's going to be coverage for? But it is considerably more affordable than I would say nipple construction reconstruction would be.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing that. And
Mhm.
also, if you are just tuning in, I always love to remind everyone who we're speaking to. And Susan Grothe, where are you based out of? And lasting impression, would you mind sharing the exact location?
Absolutely. I'm in Lake Elmo, Minnesota, and Lake Elmo is just west of the Twin Cities metro area. So from downtown Minneapolis, I'm about 30 minutes. From downtown St. Paul, I'm probably about 20 minutes. So I'm really close to the major Twin Cities metro area, just outside of it.
Got it. All right. So we're here talking about nipple reconstruction versus areola tattoo restoration, which is what she specializes in. And of course, the 3D areola tattoo, shall I say, right? It's got to, make them feel amazing. And they look amazing. I mean, talk about boosting self-confidence and feeling good again. It just goes such a long way what you're doing to their inner self, even though you're working on the outer self, right? It's both.
Yeah, yeah.
No.
And that's where I think that's really what compelled me to be in this segment. It's really a niche segment of, the tattoo world, the cosmetic tattoo world. Medical tattoo is much smaller, much less known, but I think the impact that it has on clients is so huge. That's what compels me to do it. Most of the people that I see are even unaware of how this is impacting them. So I have multiple stories
Yeah.
from women who have, they'll describe to me, I get out of the shower in the morning and I'm getting dressed and I just pull my robe back around me. Didn't even realize that they
Yeah.
were self-conscious about how their breasts looked because they just looked like blobs. They didn't have that finishing detail that really makes it look realistic. And several of my clients have commented to me, after I had this done, I realized how self conscious I had been. And now I look in the mirror and I'm actually kind of proud of how I look. And they see beyond the scars. You're typically going to have scars with any kind of breast surgery, and
Yeah.
everybody's scars will vary, but almost everyone has scars. And, how prominent those are, there's just a myriad of factors that would drive that. But when you look in the mirror and you see the scars, most people are pretty self conscious about that and they're self critical. So I find that clients have more of a negative, like a negative self body image, like I'm damaged goods. That's
Yeah.
often the mindset that people have after cancer. And when you do a service like areola restoration, where that body image and that mind talk, that negative mind dialogue goes away because they look in the mirror and it's healing beyond the scar. So you're really that emotional healing that helps you get past the scars, past the surgery, past, being a cancer survivor. You look in the mirror and you feel normal.
Yeah.
That's really what's the most rewarding thing to me.
Beautiful. Thank you. And did you want to discuss a little bit about scar camouflage, what that actually is, what that entails as well?
Sure. Scar camouflage is really very complex because there's so many different scars out there. I probably should just highlight a few of the types of scars that I specialize in. I really focus a lot on surgical scars. Surgical scars tend to be the I'm going to call them the cleanest and they heal the best. When you have a scar that was caused by an accident or an injury, sometimes there's a lot of texture to that scar that can't be as easily addressed with camouflage. But a surgical scar often is going to heal relatively flat.
Mm,
And what you're looking for are those surgical scars or a scar that is going to be a little bit lighter in color. You don't want it to be pink, so you're looking for kind of a whitish look. You want it to be flatter. It's ideal if it's not in an area where there's contracture. Contracture means it might be pulling if you've got a scar from an injury or something where it's pulled by the skin is pulled. That tends to be difficult to work on. So really looking at those scars that are probably 6 to 9 months old, whiter in color, they would be flat, and there's a myriad of scars that are caused by various surgeries: knee surgeries,
Yeah.
tummy tucks, hip surgeries, arm lifts, tracheotomy,
Yeah.
thyroidectomies. There's so many different scars that you can camouflage. And what I'm doing is taking base pigments, and I am really recreating your exact skin tone. And that's what I think people don't realize, that pigments don't come in, Jill Nicolini's skin color or Susan
Yes.
Grothe's
No,
skin color. I
exactly.
have to take the pigments and blend that color, and that takes quite a bit of skill and expertise. So I'm blending that to exactly match the skin, and then I'm going to feather it into the scar, and really try and get it to adhere to that dermal layer. The scar camouflage typically is going to take at least a couple of appointments. I'd say 2 to 3. It's also important to note that depending on where you live, if you are exposed to seasons like I am here in Minnesota, where you've got, really two different skins. You've got summer skin when you're exposed to more sunlight and your skin takes on a little bit more of a tan, or you've got winter skin when there's very little sun. That makes a difference, the time of year that you do the camouflage, because your base skin is going to hold a certain amount of melanin from the sun. So I'm usually advising clients to choose when we're going to do this based on how they want the outcome of the scar to look. So generally a couple of appointments, I'd say two to
Mm-hmm.
three appointments. But I don't take on scar cases unless I can feel confident that I can achieve about 80%
Wow.
improvement to the scar.
Oh, well, thank you. This is beautiful work you're doing, and I'm honored that you're here today helping so many. And, we are talking mostly about medical tattooing today, but she also does cosmetic work as well. So you are well versed in all different areas and treatments. And let me ask you, since we're talking about, scars, and what about, women who have C-section scars? Are those camouflageable, or is that too much skin, too much scar? What type of scars are off limits and what other scars have you worked on?
Yeah, yeah. The C-section scar is actually a very common scar, and it can be a really great scar to work on. The thing that you have to be careful about, or what I look for, is that scar flat enough? Sometimes you'll get a ropier, heavier scar, but it can be a real flat, easy scar to camouflage. Tummy tucks are another one that are easier to camouflage. Both of those are typically not exposed to a lot of sun, so the skin surrounding them is going to stay more consistent. So it's easier to camouflage because you're not choosing which season or which skin color you're going to cover. Scars that are that can be a little bit harder are scars, like on a joint surrounding maybe a knee, because you've got that bonier surface. I've worked on a lot of facelift scars. Those tend to be hidden in the hairline, but oftentimes you'll get more of a whitish, kind of almost like a stretch mark, that comes from the scar as the skin is kind of pulled back, to create the effect you're looking from the facelift. So camouflaging those facelift scars is also a very common scar to do. Thyroidectomy, that's another one. A lot of people having those types of surgeries, that's a very common scar, fairly easy to camouflage. All of them take a couple of appointments, but I'd say 2 to 3 is generally what I look at.
Got it. All right. Thank you so much. And then, as far as, scar camouflage, obviously, let me just ask, I've heard of people doing the pigmentation on the head, like to help out people's hairlines, and some people who may have had hair transplants and stuff like that and gone, not say gone wrong, but now they lost their hair and they have a scar there. Can you work on the scalp as well? Is that something that you do?
Yes. Yes, that's
Ah,
actually almost a dedicated field now, and
oh,
it's very typical of the cosmetic tattoo industry. little pockets have developed into their own businesses and have become very popular. So that's actually called SMP, scalp micropigmentation. And it really is designed to simulate hair follicles in the skin. It's a very big business. Some people specialize only in that. I do a little of it, but not a lot. It really will cover up, bald spots where your hair might be thinning. I'd work more with people in the area where if they've had an injury or a scar, because then I'm going to really work the pigment into that scar area to make it kind of blend back in with the actual hair. So that is a very common one.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for that. And now, as far as what other types of areas do we have scars? Could you work on the face? Do people have scars from surgery? What other types of scars can you camouflage in a sense?
You can. I have done facial scar work, and sometimes what you're trying to do is really soften the scar depending on what type of scar it is. So, if it's from Mohs surgery and you've got a real visible scar, sometimes you can needle the scar. There's a lot of techniques that are just within medical tattooing that help to soften the scar, and sometimes that's required before you can actually deposit any pigment. So just repairing that dermal layer so it will accept pigment. But acne
Got it.
scars are very common.
Ah.
I've worked with people who have had scars from dog bites. For instance, as a child, one of my clients was bitten very badly by a dog and had
Ooh.
scar in the lip line. So we were able to camouflage the scar, but then recreate the lip line using lip micropigmentation to really recreate the vermilion border and make her lip line look more normal again. A lot of scars and eyebrows. I work with scars and eyebrows all the time.
It's so fascinating the work that you
Yeah.
do. And, we say it's permanent makeup, right? It's like a permanent tattoo, but there is some upkeep in the future as well. We have 3 minutes left in the show. Just want to make sure we're covering everything today. Did you want to, add to anything about that, or what else did you want to make sure we get in here in the end?
Cosmetic tattoo is really integral in what I do. It's the
Mm-hmm.
base work that makes it possible to even do these advanced techniques of scar camouflage and 3D areola. They all of the facial tattoo, eyebrows, eyeliner, lip color, those are designed to fade. They aren't designed to be as permanent as, say, for instance, areola
Yeah.
micropigmentation be. It's you want that to gently fade over time. You don't want this permanent, tattoo like eyebrow, for instance, because your face is going to age, and as it ages, your face is going to change, and the tattoo will not. So you ideally want to, have something that's going to gently fade and look natural as it fades over time. I'm very conservative in the work I do with cosmetic tattoo. I just know a lot about it. I've taken a lot of training in pigment science and color theory, and I'm just very conservative, trying to really use a light hand and create the most natural
Yeah.
results that I.
Well, you do a great job of it. So thank you for that. And thank you for enlightening our listeners today, talking about the process here of scar camouflage, areola, 3D areola tattoo, and of course, give us the insight to the nipple reconstruction versus the areola tattoo restoration. Let me just ask, people sometimes need both, right? And you can
Yeah.
work on someone after they had their reconstruction because it's still not 100% right, or they may need the pigmentation. So everything here goes hand in hand, and it's always good to have to get the knowledge ahead of time. Do you offer like initial free consultations, or how do people reach out to you?
People can reach out to me either by going to my website, which is lastingimpressionpmu.com. They can call
Yeah.
me directly, 952-207-4899. Consultations are free, and I really like to speak with people prior to have a better understanding of what their goals and expectations are, and then see what we're trying to do. And, I'll give my opinion on if I am able to really achieve the goals that they're looking for, either with their cosmetic tattoo or with their medical tattoo.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Looking forward to speaking with you again. And again, if we want to reach out, feel free and take advantage of that free consultation. And appreciate your time here again. Susan Grothe, it is,
Yeah.
artist from Lasting Impression, based out of Lake Emil, Minnesota. Thank you again for your time.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.